The Malian military regime has days to hand over power to a civilian or risk further sanctions by the Economic Committee of West African States. This was the outcome of the President ECOWAS-led consultative meeting attended by the military leader in Mali, Colonel Assimi Goïta, and 7 other presidents from the sub-region. Colonel Goïta, who seized power on August 18, forced the resignation of the elected president, Ibrahim Keita, and the dissolution of the government. An earlier directive by ECOWAS to hand over power by September 15 was not met, but after hours of deliberation, the junta says it needs to consult with members of the National Council for the salvation of the people in Mali before deciding. President Akufo-Addo, who spoke to the media after the meeting, said Mali will have to comply if it wants to avoid sanctions.
More than anything else, organizing the resistance to the terrorist menace in Mali. So we had and that is the reason why I decided that it would be a good thing for us to meet face to face with the leaders, the military leaders in Mali, so we could talk eyeball to eyeball. It has happened, I believe, in a successful manner. We have been able to reaffirm the positions of ECOWAS. We need a civilian leadership of the transition, and we've also made it clear that the minute that leadership is put in place through the processes that they themselves have agreed on in Mali, the sanctions that have been placed against Mali will be lifted by ECOWAS.
How
so that's
right.
That basically is now in the hands of the Malians. We made it clear. In a week's time, the mediator will be back will go to Bamako to see the state of play. I'm hoping that by the time he gets there, these things will have been completed so that the sanctions can be lifted. But we're talking hopefully in days, not in weeks.
And was this particular decision taken in good faith by the current military leader?
I believe so. He was there, he listened, he participated in the discussions, but he insisted that he would have to go back and do the consultations with those who are responsible for the decisions that they took and get their buy-in. And he was not prepared. And I think all of us understood that it will take he will need to do that. But he's on his way back to Bamako as we speak.
Let's now speak with Presidential Affairs correspondent Elton Brobe, who's been covering the summit for Joy News. So we know now that the military regime in Mali has a few more days to hand over power. What then become of the deadline for the regime to exit by the end of today?
I was saying that from what we were told today, the 15th September deadline no longer holds. Indeed, ECOWAS leaders will now await a report from the chief mediator, former President Jonathan Goodluck, in a week's time, and that will inform the way forward. Remember that this will not be the first time ECOWAS will be directing the military regime in Mali to hand over to a civilian regime. And for that civilian regime to, within a matter of 12 months, undertake electoral processes to return the country to constitutional rule. The first directive came on the 7th of September, and that's expired today. There was no, going forward from the Malian authorities. Indeed, they told the committee that they had undertaken some consultations with some civil society groups and a cross-section of the people in Mali. And the consensus was that if ECOWAS is insisting on having somebody to supervise the transition from military to civilian rule, that person necessarily doesn't have to be a civilian. A military could as well take up that particular role. But it looked like that was rejected at today's meeting. So the new way going forward is for the Malian authorities to now look at handing over power to a civilian for that person to supervise the transition. So whether they will comply, that's according to Assimi Goïta, who is the leader of the military wing operating under the National Council for the Salvation of the People. He will have to now consult with the rank and file of this committee before he can come to a decision. Now, they stand the risks of having ECOWAS entrench the sanctions on them, which could result in the closure of their borders and the suspension of financial flow to Mali, and that will have an impact on the people. But what they are saying is that they need to consult, they need to talk to their people before they can get the country back into constitutional rule. So that's what happened today. We're hoping that today's meeting will bring finality to this program. At least I will have to wait days and weeks before there will be finality to the crisis in Mali. For the ECOWAS leaders, they are concerned about the activities of insurgents who have allegiance with Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State. Because of the instability in Mali, they've started extending their presence in the country and moving towards the other countries in the sub-region. This is something that they cannot tolerate, and they find it unacceptable, and do whatever they can to ensure that Mali has a leader that can deal with the insurgents.
Elton Brobe is presidential affairs correspondent, and he brought us some update. Dr. Vladimir Nkwidanso is an international relations expert and now joins me via phone for more on this. Doc, some say we are at crossroads with this crisis in Mali. Is there really a way forward?
There always is a way forward in diplomacy. There's always a way forward. If you choose the wrong road, that is where you come into a tupik, and that is when you exacerbate the situation. I have always been on the side of continued diplomacy, no matter how long it will take for us to get proper results. But it looks as though ECOWAS has a one-way, a one-size-fits-all kind of, it's not ECOWAS alone, AU, whatever it is, in the false belief that stampeding and a bad situation into some more chaos before we return to so-called civilian rule will always bring about good things. I beg to differ. What do we do when civilian governments are ruling badly? And the military is the only institution that can bring about some form of stability, no matter undemocratic. In every country, be it America, whatever it is, it's only the military. In 2012, if the military hadn't come in, worse things would have happened. But how did the military come in? Just because they were ill-equipped, ill-resourced, and there were so many ungoverned spaces where the miscreants and the Tuaregs were the ones who were governing the place. What did ECOWAS say? What did the international community say? So in such a situation, when chaos has already happened, we need to make a meticulous approach towards whatever we want to do. But stampeding the authorities over there to hand over 1 week, hand over 1 month, hand over 1 year, I don't think it's the correct approach. Again, we don't have to dictate to them that we need to, even though it's illegal, it is legal in one sense because they have gotten a charter that recognizes them. And the situation on the ground there is very bad, such that what your correspondent said is clear. If we don't take care, the undefined contours of Islamism and terrorism in the place will take over completely. In 2012, they were closed. So I believe ECOWAS needs more, they need a correct temperament. They need patience. They need to interrogate their own methodology of doing things to bring about peace in those areas where non-peace has already ushered itself. Because the worst would be that if the situation goes very bad, the military is in barracks and the military turns their guns against each other, being supported or supporting various groups. What we are going to have is a chaotic situation, and the whole of West Africa will be turned into ungovernable area.
Doc, specifically, what are your expectations as ECOWAS leaders work around the clock to find resolutions? My
expectation would be to give this peace process a chance to form itself. Let the mediator dialogue with the military, dialogue with the civil society organization, dialogue with the opposition, and let the opposition know that only Malians can resolve their problem. I wish the ECOWAS would dialogue with the opposition to let them know that this is a chance to now formulate a roadmap that will lead to a constitutional kind of long-term rule, like Ghana we did. Many more people were, excuse me to say, very angry with Jerry Rawlings. They said it was contested firm and there could have been chaos. But Ghana had the patience of drawing their own constitution with the PNDC, and that is where we are now. Let ECOWAS revise its note, and I believe that the mediator should be given a chance to mediate for amicable settlement of this issue. That, hey, look, we've taken over power, and remember, a coup is an illegal thing. So they will know that if they hand over tomorrow and tomorrow they are in shackles. So there is need for understanding, gradual understanding, and that's what I'm expecting of ECOWAS to understand. Okay, you've done this thing. We have suspended you, but let's speed up the process. Opposition, let's understand this thing and let's move forward. But you see, the junta says they are going to go back to consult. If they consult and the people say no, what do we do? So no stampeding, no threat. The situation is real. Let's talk. That's my view of it.
I'm extremely grateful for your time. Dr. Vladimir Danso is an international relations expert. Now,